The Edge of Dreaming. Man gains the power to kill a god, and a new age is born. What follows is the beginning of a short story set in an original fantasy universe created by N.K. Khan. Dr. Wilhelmina Fang, the genius credited with killing the mighty Zhang Ying, godly protector of the emperor's line, now sets about to create her second miracle, to raise an army that can never die. To do this, she enlists the help of mercenaries like Richard Bennington and old friends like Francis Pinault. But their faith in her is questioned as Dr. Fang becomes more and more obsessed with her occult research. The Edge of Dreaming. Alchemy. It would never have appeared in the life of Francis Pinault if it weren't for Dr. Fang. Alchemical distillation, conduction, disruption, reduction, dilation, preservation, illumination, and affirmation. Dr. Fang has tried them all. She'd spend hours in the libraries of the Jade Palace, sometimes days without water or food, all consumed by her search. She changed. Francis watched her. Her skin became pale, her eyes darkened, her lips deflated. At one time, she would bounce between the balls of her feet as she talked, tapping you on the shoulder every so often to ensure you were paying attention. Now she looks past you as her voice seems to float from beyond her body. A genius to some, a sorcerer to others, a moment in history to be feared or revered. All these things have been said about her. To Francis, she is just her superior officer. To Francis, she is still Wilhelmina Fang, lithe and passionate. But to him, and only in relation to him, does anything matter anymore. She is the Oracle. Little Billy Fang, sole advisor to Emperor Zequan, the woman who killed a god. Francis heaves the glittering right paw onto the pyre. Its talon grazes her shoulder, tearing the fabric to reveal a beaded chain of painless blood. She wipes it away absent-mindedly. Finally, she's finished. Her grisly trophy is complete. This sculpture of upended femurs, dismembered vertebrae, dripping clavicles, punctured membranes, petrified tendons, and twisted muscles, all shimmering in the unending light of the Shenzhou Plateau, all soaked in the dark blue ichor of the ancients. The once mighty Zhang Ying, defender and friend to the emperor, reduced to this grotesque rubble. This eruption of violence, this symbol for their new age, the evidence of their eternal crimes. Francis motions to the silent soldiers to her left, and the torches are thrown into the pyre. The wood is engulfed in flickering orange, dancing in the scales of the Zhang Ying. With a roar, as if the plateau itself was drawing a breath, the pieces of its ancient body ignite, and black smoke pumps into the sky. Only one piece is missing from the ancient's funeral pyre, one piece specifically requested by Dr. Fang. 4 torches blaze white concentrated fire, the hottest yet producible by man. 4 metal nozzles screaming in the throes of purification. 4 beams of unrivaled heat to strip the Zhang Ying to its bone. The fearsome head of this ancient creature leers at Dr. Fang as it disappears behind the flames. Its gold-flecked eyes, still dancing with life, pop and melt from the heat, dripping across the flaking scales. The hollow sockets still bore into Fang's soul. Even in death it knows, she thinks, unfolding her arms and tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Even in death it knows to fear her. Where's Bennington? The technician shrugs, his face screwed up behind heat-tinted goggles. This is his machine at work. He should be here to see it. She blinks away a single bead of sweat. Fetch him. You can leave the Zhang Ying with me. Only too eager to escape the oppressive waves coming off the torches, the technician leaves the controls and exits. Gliding over to the panel, Fang widens the valves and the roaring flames glitter like crystals in her eyes. The Saigon Garden is a beautiful piece of horticulture. Within its embroidered walls, blue poppies, pink sapria, purple petunias, and white monkey flowers, and other plants he doesn't know the name of, twist against each other in looping elliptical spirals. In total, he counts 12 distinct species, though how could he really know? He's no botanist. Gulping down another measure of sleeping draught, Lieutenant Richard Bennington relishes the pump of freshly diluted blood around his body. He lowers himself till the petals hang like stained glass above him, a mosaic of broken silhouettes shivering in the breeze. As his head touches the warm soil, long black fingers snag on the vegetation. Needle teeth drip within cavernous maws. A single red eye blocks the pale sun, pulsing with an unending madness. He screws up his face, whispering, "They're not real. They're not real. Relax, Richard. Go to sleep. They're not real. They're not real, Richard. Relax." Like a 10-ton block of ice lifting from his chest, the cold finally disappears. He gasps, rocketed back into a seated position as his vision shakes into focus, heartbeat racing within his chest. "Fang won't like you sleeping on the job." Kuba helps Bennington to his feet, wiping a film of sweat from his palm. How long had he been there? Richard didn't notice him remove the latch and come in. "You know none of us sleep." Richard's voice is subdued, barely louder than a whisper. With lowered eyes, the pair share a somber silence as the petals flutter around them. Dark bags eat away at their faces. Their skin clings tightly to their skulls. Richard offers Kuba the tincture still held in his hand. A bearded man with broad Vesuvian shoulders. His features are distinct from the sea of acolytes Fang seems to collect around her. Richard served with him in Sadim, and the unflappable technician had become somewhat of a friend in the chaotic aftermath of the insurrection. The man looks at the glass vial once, then twice, then quickly uncorks it to sling a heavy measure down his throat. "That's a good lad." Richard pats his shoulder. "Regular order tonight?" Kuba wipes his lips and nods, returning the vial graciously. "Might be better to double it. Fang's got that look in her eyes. It's nearly ready." "She got the torches working?" "As we speak." Richard shivers. "Then may God have mercy on us all, or whatever's watching us." The gates to the Jade Palace are wrought from an ancient wood found far to the north. Their impressive silhouettes are held in place by 2 megalithic jade columns, gilded with gold electrum and swirling malachite. The fresco tells a story as it weaves up the columns and across the gate. First, there's a jungle of huge trees, thick trunks, and an impenetrable canopy. Then, between the malachite fronds, golden creatures break through the foliage. A leopard squares off with an ox. A 2-headed owl watches from a branch. A man and woman, one cloaked, the other in a flowing gown, join hands in a river. A scorpion digs itself into the sandy banks, and a crocodile lies in wait. Above, a storm rages, showering the scene with crackling gold, and deep below, the kraken's many arms weave amongst the waxing bands. Presiding over it all, big enough to stretch across the entirety of the gate, the impressive Zhang Ying holds court. Serpentine body, feline arms, and 2 enormous leathery wings. Its face both fearsome and intelligent, frozen yet alive all at the same time. Frances can feel it glowering at her now, reminding her that she was never worthy enough to be its gravedigger. A stiff breeze drifts through the courtyard, tossing the orange, green, and purple flags pinned to the battlements. Each flag bears the name of a past emperor, the color chosen to signify the nature of their reign. The emperor, themselves buried in a stone tomb beneath the flag. The memorial stops 100 paces short of the gate, an empty tomb marking the end of their lofty tradition. The former emperor will not be defending the palace in the next life with his forefathers. Instead, he is the herald of a new tradition, raised above the palace grounds on a mount within the courtyard. A carcass preserved with foul chemicals and sawdust, bound to witness the unmaking of his legacy through pecked eyes and a stitched mouth. Black clouds drift across the sun, submerging the courtyard in a gray light. Frances wipes a tear sprung by the cold air, stubbing her finger painfully on the metalwork of the mask. One of Richard's inventions, all those present in the courtyard wear one. The mask supplies oxygen to the wearer through a snout-like sac hanging from the nose and mouth. Glass lenses held together by a latticed metal protect the wearer from potentially harmful gases, and a canister strapped to the waist supplies them with fresh air. Richard developed these with the flame-throwing torches as a gift to the former emperor, a neat combination that won him Zekwan's attention and won his company a swath of Sadim's now rebellious jungle. The air feels tight around her nose and mouth. The leather straps itch. Those around her fidget uncomfortably while they wait for Fang and Bennington. There are a smattering of technicians and soldiers, zealots and devotees, engineers and mercenaries from around the world. Today they climb to the tallest peak on the plateau, the dreaded Moshatang. Today, Fang will conjure another miracle. From the far end of the courtyard come two distinct figures. One stands tall, square-shouldered and strong. The other drags his feet, hunched and sheepish. Bennington has his mask in his hands. Dr. Fang wears hers with pride. Behind them, wheeled on a creaking trolley, the skull of the Zhang Ying watches each footfall in quiet indignation. A hush descends on the gathered as their leader approaches. Fang raises her arms, and the zealous clap, the devotees cheer, soldiers stomp their boots, and even a few technicians give terse smiles. Only two remain impassive, Francis and the burly Vesuvian Cuba. His face is rigid, hiding his fear with a performative sort of concentration as he fits his mask. Francis waves to Bennington, but he looks past her, studying the red-gray void of the plateau. "Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Lieutenant Bennington has been found. He overslept." Dr. Fang's voice, barely muffled by the mask, has an air of enthusiasm Francis hasn't heard for years. A smattering of laughter drifts through the courtyard. Richard watches with uneasy eyes. "Today we make the journey to the highest summit of the known world," she continues, her voice rising in volume, "to the edge of sanity, the edge of dreaming, the edge of your very souls. And from that chasm we shall draw forth the makings of a new age. You are all worthy soldiers in this cause, worthy adversaries to the ancients' ways. No more do we bend the knee, no more do we worship idols. No, today we order the gods themselves to bow down before us." As if weighing nothing, Fang lifts the immense skull of the Zhang Ying above her head. Awe ripples through the crowd. Some clap each other on the back and shake hands as if this was their doing. A few step forward, fawning over Fang. A couple soldiers, palace guards converted to her cause, lower their eyes in shame. Dr. Fang bristles with excitement. Francis can see her eyes flashing behind the metalwork of the mask, the snout expanding and contracting with every breath. Her body sways as if held in a trance, voice hitting fever pitch as it booms around them like gunfire. There are winds of change that blow through this plateau. They whisper things to me, things that would make a king grow cold and hang up his crown, things that would make a poet weep and hang up his pen. Do not fear them, my loyal soldiers, and do not rejoice. We neither fear death nor desire life. We are vessels, subjects to every passing moment. The winds of change are only masters. They tell me we are in the midst of a very important moment. My friends, they tell me we must welcome it with open arms, welcome the darkness that has cast itself over this palace. I see it in your eyes. You have felt its presence, seen its dreadful shape flit in the corner of your eyes. Stand with me now, and we can control it. We will command it. We shall be remembered as the shapers of civilization, the makers of empire. No more do we live in the shadow of greatness. Today, we become the shadow. She looks up, addressing the carved portrait of the Zhang Ying itself. All that you've ever been rests within my hands, and there your power shall remain. Whooping cheers rise from the courtyard, a hungry throng of wolves howling to their moon. Fang returns the skull to the trolley and clicks her fingers, parting the crowd. She strolls through them like a newly crowned queen, head held high as she soaks in her coronation. Richard motions to Francis and Cuba, who quickly fall in step behind her. Others hastily join the procession as they exit the jade gates and begin the long climb to Moshatang. The snow-capped crown of Moshatang is a fearsome thing to behold. Black clouds circle its triadic peaks, rising from the plateau like an enormous stony throne. Rubbed smooth by its viscous winds, its treacherous climb has claimed many lives, and yet Fang hauls herself up with mechanical determination. Gripping frosted rungs carved into the mountainside long before the Jade Palace was ever built, the procession winds up its southern face like a wound reopening. It was on the summit of the Moshatang that the Zhang Ying bestowed the first emperor with this land. And now Fang wears its skull on her back, returning to that hallowed ground, like some twisted reenactment of that fateful day.